And I'm also feeling like so many of these businesses, because the businesses that are closing, actually, it's not a business that started last year. It's a business that has been in place. So whether this person involved a certified secretary to start, it started off well. Are there loopholes that you're able to point out which makes businesses now start weakening, goes to the point of closing, or would you associate it like we have a phase that we are going in the country that is really affecting our economy?
You know, there are what I'll call external and internal factors and issues around your business, what you need to put in place. As the business grows, then you're able to increase the level of services. So these professionals will come and tell you, these are the range of services we offer, which can be from A to Z. But for you at this particular time, you only require A and B. As the business grows, you're also able to add, can you also give me C and D? Because each of those services also cost you money. And therefore, you don't want to invest in something that you are not able to consume at the moment. The other reason, Susan, why you need good governance, for example, even in the boutique that you are mentioning about, you need money to run the business.
Yes.
And among the many sources of money is loan.
Hello, good people. Susie Ledadem, living positively regardless. Doesn't matter the point at which you are in life, but we raw positivity all the way. I am born again, reconciled to Christ, and I'm so happy about it. Are you? If not, probably it's something you need to consider. It is good, it is beautiful, it is sweet. Thank you so much, my people. Team Susie Ledadem. Thank you so much, because we have grown, we are really growing. And also I appreciate all of you who have been sharing our content. Yes, you've been giving me those views, you've been giving me comments, I have your feedback. At least now I feel like I know what my people want, reading from your feedbacks. So if still there's something you'd want us either to bring here or to improve in Susie Ledadem, don't hesitate to put it in the comment section. If you have not subscribed, kindly do so. Just support us. Subscribing is free, but it is a way of supporting my work. And today I'm grateful to God because He has given us yet another opportunity to be here. It has been a moment, yes, but I'll come and tell you why it has taken us a moment, a break. We have had a break. We'll talk about that later. But today, this is a time when in our countries there's so much that is happening, and I know most of us, especially people in the business sector, tumeguzwa. I feel so. And so today I believe we will have an idea of how probably we can go about that, so that we don't now as we fall, we don't roll in the mud. But before we get there, let me introduce to you a guest of the day. You know I always get so excited when I have a guest in the house, and so today we have a guest. Hello.
Hello to you.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yet again.
Thank you.
Because you've been here before.
Yes.
Yes, I would want you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you, Susan. My name is Jeremia Karanja, currently serving as the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, Institute of Certified Secretaries. I'm a born-again Christian, a husband of one wife who is a female, and a father of several children, and I thank God for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful. So guys, you can hear, I've brought you the best. Jayan, I think we have you in the studio at the very, I feel like the very ripe moment for such a discussion. Because looking around, actually, I've gone around in town, and so many businesses are being closed. We are closing businesses, and probably I would feel that, you know, when it's something that happening to one person, you may want to think maybe that person, there's something they are doing wrong. But when it goes to 1, 2, 3 people, you want to ask yourself what exactly is happening in the country. So I will want to feel like today probably you'll help us to answer some of these questions. And maybe I'll start from where you say your work.
As I mentioned, I work for the Institute of Certified Secretaries. Maybe I can just, for the benefit of those who may not have come across the Institute of Certified Secretaries or ICPS, I can start by giving a bit of background information. The Institute of Certified Secretaries, we are created under an Act of Parliament, Laws of Kenya. Our full name is Institute of Certified Public Secretaries of Kenya, ICPS. And our mandate is issues to do with governance. So for you to be a member of the institute, so that you are referred as a certified secretary or a CS, you have to go through a rigorous examination process through CASNEB. CASNEB full name is Kenya Accountants Secretaries Examination Board. So it examines both accountants and secretaries. So if you do accountancy, you become a member of ISPAC. If you do certified secretaries, you become a member of the Institute of Certified Secretaries. And what are they trained on? These CSs. They are trained on matters governance, matters ethics, matters management, administration, compliance. And therefore, the whole training is about how to support organizations so that organizations can thrive. And after going through that rigorous examination process, then they are registered by a board called Registration of Certified Public Secretaries Board, and they become members of ICS, and we regulate them and we continually train them. So I would say a certified secretary is a professional who is examined, who is regulated, who is trained on matters governance, ethics, compliance, and administration. And therefore, we have a lot of input in regard to the issues that you've raised, because that's actually what we are trained on. That's what we do on day-to-day basis. And to answer your question, a certified secretary, when they are engaged, for instance, in a private company, they will be called company secretary. Their role is what I'll call from womb to tomb, from when a company is born to when it dies. So they participate in the creation, in the birthing of an organization. They participate in the registration process. So if you want to register either as a company, as a church, as any kind of organization, a certified secretary will help you in the registration process. But also through the life of that organization, they will help you to ensure that that company, one, complies with the legal requirements, it observes good governance practices, and later on I'll be defining a bit what governance is, and is able to go to the next level in terms of growth, because the sole reason why you, for instance, establish a company, if it's a private, it is a profit-making organization, is to, there could be so many other reasons, but one of them is to make wealth. A company sector will help you in increasing your wealth of the organization. And should there be a reason, because there are so many reasons why, just the same way human beings are born, they live, and time to die comes. So should there be a reason why this organization needs to die, is what we call dissolution, then a company sector will also help you in quote unquote killing the company. So that's why I say they're involved right from the womb to the tomb. They will help you in the life cycle of the organization from the beginning throughout its lifespan until, if you so desire, the death of that organization. Yeah.
And what kind of organizations are these that really requires a CS? Because I'm looking at someone who want to start a boutique. I want to start selling shoes.
Yeah.
Are there categories of the businesses that really requires a CS?
No, everyone require a CS. The only thing is, per the law, there are certain organizations which by law is mandatory to have a certified secretary or a company secretary. For instance, for organizations which are owned by government, for them they are required. We call them state corporations. They are public companies. Public companies by nature, maybe just to put it in the layman's language, organizations which, the big organizations, you have many shareholders. You have there is legal definition of a public company, but for these big organizations, they are also required by law to have a company secretary. If a company, for instance, the share capital is more than 5 million, the law requires them to have one, and so many other categories of organizations. However, even those ones who are not required to do so by law, it is highly recommended that they engage a company secretary. And therefore, in the example, for instance, you've given of a boutique, right? Because one of the things that as a country we suffer, our economy, one of the areas that we suffer, we have what we call informal economy. By informal economy, we mean is you go start a boutique. The only thing you do is pay the county government. There is no formality around it. That is okay because, especially at the beginning, it will put food on your table. But the challenge with that, there is a certain level you cannot go in an informal sector. So the biggest percentage of our economy is informal. And that is one of the biggest challenges, not only a Kenyan challenge, but it's an African challenge. In the West, they have invested a lot in formalization of their businesses. And therefore, that boutique that you are mentioning, for them, they will take it, they will register a company, they will bring shareholders, they will bring all these governance principles we are talking about. And what does that help? It helps on so many things. One, you are able to attract investors, because one of the biggest challenges in businesses is having capital, adequate capital to expand. So you have the idea, you know what you want to do, but you are not able to do that because of resources. You are limited. And no one will come to invest in your business. No one will bring you capital if they are not sure that this business will be there tomorrow. So the way we run our organizations, most of our businesses here in Kenya, is that I start a business, my wife and I, and there is no formality around it. We don't do any bookkeeping. We don't keep any records. We don't do any compliance. And therefore, if I told you, Susan, come and buy shares in this, in the first place, I even don't know what shares are. Now, those informalities is what I would say limits the growth of our businesses. Now, those who are able to go beyond that, what they do, they get to the stage of what we call formalization. You come from what, quotes and quotes, in Kenya is called juakali business to formal sector. Sometimes people see this as an expense. Yes, it's true. It will come with its own initial expenditure, but in the long term, we are able to withstand some of the economic challenges we are talking about, because once you register formally as a company, engage professionals to help you. It may be expensive, but you are able to attract investors, not only here in Kenya, but even outside. But secondly, in terms of trade, in terms of business, you're able to trade with other formal institutions. For example, just giving an example, even where I work, if we consume a lot of things, different things, but if you are in Juakali, it will be very difficult for us to do business with you, because if you have not formalized your business, because the law requires certain criteria that, for example, the person supplying to you must have A, B, C, D. So you find most of those small organizations, because they have refused to formalize, they see formalization as an expenditure, then they're only limited to selling to people along the street. They are unable to tap into where the real money is, because real money is in corporations, is in government, is in other big institutions. So if you cannot participate in a tender process, for example, the government wants, maybe you are a mechanic, the only people you repair vehicles for are maybe the matatus who are along your route. But when other organizations want their vehicles repaired, you are not able to participate in that, then you are losing in terms of who else can you tap from. And that's what now, when there is such economic hardships like we are experiencing in Kenya, then you'll be the first one to be hit. It's not that even the other big organizations are not affected, but they will not be affected as you are affected. So to reduce your level of exposure, that's why I would encourage organizations, get the services of a company secretary. They are able to help you in the formalization process. Once they help you in the formalization process, they also are able to advise you even on issues we call strategy, growth strategy. How can I move my organization from level 1? If my trade, for instance, at the end of the month, I sell goods worth 1 million. How can I move from 1 million to 5 million? Or you're at 100,000. How can I move from 100,000 to 500,000? So that you are able to grow. Otherwise, if you remain as an informal business, unfortunately, you'll be there for quite some time. And that also comes with a second challenge, that business is only operational as long as you are able to render your personal services to it. When you are indisposed, when you are sick, or if the good Lord calls you to the other home, then the business dies with you because there are no structures in it. And unfortunately, in the years of my practice, I have come across very huge organizations, very big ones as we look them from outside. But because they have refused to formalize, it's only the muzee who knows where the checkbook is. No one else who knows. As soon as he dies, the following day, the workers cannot even purchase whatever that is required for the running of the organization. So the business collapses with them. So how does the company sector help? They will come and help you in creating something we call structures, that business and you are two separate individuals. You are not the business, and you need to separate you and business so that even when you are not there, the organization can run. For example, where I work, whether I'm there or not, I take even a whole 1 month leave, despite the fact that I'm the CEO. And I can afford to switch off my phone for a whole 2 weeks, and the organization will run in my absence. So what you need to ask yourself as a business, if today you are bedridden, hospitalized for 2 months, is the organization able to run without you? If the answer is yes, then you are doing well. If the answer is no, that there are certain elements of the organization that are not able to run in your absence, then you have a challenge. And this is not only for businesses, it's any organization, including a church. We have churches, for example, when the pastor is not there, no one knows what happens around that organization. And therefore, they also need the services of a governance professional, because certified secretaries, we call them governance professionals. Governance professional to help them to structure the organizational structure and policies so that in your absence, things can run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that looks so beautiful from outside, and I think it really now brings out the reason as to why, as much as I am considering my business to be small, the big that you are able to achieve fire. And I think from that I see a very beautiful package. But here we are, you are a Kenyan, we are Kenya. You have worked with the Kenyan organizations, and one of the reasons I think we don't want to really formalize, like if I have my boutique business like we used to before, first of all, if I start now formalizing, there will come issues of taxes. I'll not be able to evade anything of this sort. Then the second, I think, and this is the major thing, from where you sit, how available are these opportunities? Because I'm thinking when I'm maybe selling clothes, I may be targeting, once I have formalized, I may be targeting an institution where I'm able maybe to supply clothes, maybe uniform for staffs and such things. But then you realize there is that now the process is like you need to put a tender, then you win for that tender, then you realize also the payment procedures. That's why sometimes we shy and we feel like I want to sit in my shop, a client will come buy that one shoe and I'll have money to buy unga at the end of the day. What do you think about that?
When you talk about governance, governance is the way organizations are led, the way they are structured, the way they run. And governance is contextual. There is no one shoe fits all. Everyone has to wear the shoe that fits them. And therefore, some of the things I'm mentioning will also depend at the level of your organization, the level of your business. For example, when I talk about the services company sector is offer, those services are also scaled based on your organization. For instance, when you are starting, maybe the only reason why you require this company sector is to help you in the registration process, if you so require. And one or two things. As the business grow, the other areas. So the packages also increase based on your level as the organization grow. Coming back to your question that if I formalize, then I'm exposing myself to other things like taxes. Yes, it's true. There will be taxes which you'll be required to pay, but you should also look at the bigger picture, that which is better, to have a queen cake which you are eating alone, or I see sometimes in weddings they have cakes za gorofa, like 10 of them. So cake here 10 gorofas, and then the government take half of it. You still be a bigger beneficiary. You'll be left at least with one gorofa. So it's true, as you formalize the expenses that come, but there are also opportunities. And also it's also true what you have mentioned, that formalization does not necessarily mean automatically you get those opportunities. There are also other things that you require to do. For example, do you need to do more marketing? Do you need to engage people who are able to help you get those opportunities and all that? So there are other things that you require. So by mere registering a company and registering for KRA and all that will not necessarily bring those opportunities on the table. You require to know how then do I also access those opportunities, because those opportunities are also accessed by other people like you. So there are so many. It's not one that because I have formalized. So I'm only saying this is one of the biggest challenges, especially in terms of growth. Quite a number of organizations in this country reach a certain level and they don't go beyond that. And it's because of that informality. There is no structure around it. So how that helps the formalization is especially in terms of growing from where you are to the next level. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. So now, like we started by saying that so many businesses are closing down. Are you able to bring it out where someone, let's now say, now I have started the business the right way by maybe involving a CS, a certified secretary who is able to help you to structure how to start it. And I'm also feeling like so many of these businesses, because the businesses that are closing actually, it's not a business that started last year. It's a business that has been in place. So whether this person involved a certified secretary to start, it started off well. Are there loopholes that you're able to point out which makes businesses now start weakening, goes to the point of closing, or would you associate it like we have a phase that we are going in the country that is really affecting our economy?
You know, there are what I'll call external and internal factors. External factors, unfortunately, are not within your control. I know most of us would want to sit and blame the government from morning to evening. Unfortunately, no matter how much you complain, you are not in government, so you will not make the policy to change that. So as a business person, what I should look at is what should I do for me to survive. COVID came, so many of businesses closed down, so many. There are those who decided to sit and blame COVID. There are those who looked at, because what happens in life is every problem comes with its own opportunity. So there are those who sat and looked at what are the opportunities in this COVID, and they thrived. I'm not talking about the COVID billionaires who stole from us, but I'm talking about genuine businesses. So even currently, you're experiencing an extraordinarily challenging moment in terms of the economy in the country. And it's something that started 3-4 years ago, is a wave right from the globally, the issues of COVID, the wars that we are having, especially in Middle East, and also Russia, and what is this country?
Ukraine.
In Ukraine, and so many other countries. And we find ourselves as a country also affected by issues, because today we are in something we call a global village. The world has become a very small village. So issues happening very far from us affect us. Issues of elections happening in the USA have a direct implication on you. It's only a matter of time. But you see within 2-3 months, you start feeling the impact in your business. So those are global issues that have happened over time. And then we have our own issues as a country, and especially the issues of governance. When you see all these corruption scandals in billions and all that, that is money which was meant to go into particular projects which would have started the economy, and somebody pocketed. Because as a country, whether as private citizens or some of us working in public institutions, and some of us have just decided to be unethical. So you have a combination of the global issues and the issues which are related to Kenya, unique to Kenya. Now all those, and also I know there have also been issues, especially some of the policies, government policies, which sometimes business people feel are anti-business. And so now all that now coming into place affects almost every single business that is in Kenya. And it's not even just the small businesses that you are mentioning, even big corporations. There are quite a number of organizations which have either closed down or even left Kenya, relocated to other countries over the last 4-5 years. So it's something that as a society we have to address. However, coming back to this individual business person, is that yes, there are those what I'll call global issues outside your business which you don't have control over. But then you need to ask, what also are the internal challenges within your business that are within your control that you should deal with? But because you are not dealing with, then these outside factors have a greater effect on you. And those are the issues we are talking about, especially for the growth of your business. You need to get professionals who are able to help you. And somebody who is able to look at your business from an external eye and tell you, maybe if you changed here and there, this could be this and this. Because sometimes some of the businesses we run, they are what I would call passion projects. It's something that you are so passionate about. So sometimes because you are so passionate about, whether it's a business or an organization, maybe as a church, you are so passionate about, you have the calling. So because of that passion, you normally have what I'll call mental block on anything else. So anybody else who tries to tell you ABCD, you see them as distractors, because you are passionate towards the goal that you had. And that's why now you bring professionals who give you independent advice, and based on research, based on verifiable facts, that if you took this route, most likely to end up this and this destination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would I have a measure like to see how if in my business now I have the big picture where I want to go? Would I have a measure of if I invest in a CS, because I'm imagining at the start, it means I'll have to, it's part of my investments for what I want to do for my business. Would I have a measure of how important or how will I have achieved from having employed that governance profession in my business and running it on my own? Is there a measure?
Now, what I have seen organizations do is, because you don't have to employ a certified secretary as an employee, you can engage them on part-time basis so that they are offering you the specific services as you require, as and when you require. Then you can keep on scaling them up as the business grows, so that the nature of the services that you'll be requiring from these professionals are based on the growth of the organization. So what you can do, and I give an example, for instance, when you are registering, you are here, you have thought of coming up with a company. At that level, you need the company secretary to help you in the registration process, and maybe to advise you on what are the compliance issues around your business, or you need to put in place. As the business grows, then you're able to increase the level of services. So these professionals will come and tell you, these are the range of services we offer, which can be from A to Z. But for you at this particular time, you only require A and B. As the business grows, you're also able to add, can you also give me C and D? Because each of those services also cost you money, and therefore you don't want to invest in something that you are not able to consume at the moment. So a good professional will actually advise you. So in professional services, there is something we call retainer. So you engage somebody, they are not necessarily in your organization on a from January to December, you agree on an annual retainer fee. They are your company secretary. Then you agree on the minimum services that for this year, my retainer is for this number of services. Next year, the business has grown. You need them to help you on come up with several documents which are related to the organization. We call them policies. Then you tell them, now I want you to help me come. For example, I have in my previous work, I have been engaged as a company secretary, and some of those businesses, we started with them when they were at the very low level. As they moved on, they asked us, help us to recruit a board of directors or a committee to help me as an investor, to be helping me in making decisions. So you help them in that. Next year, the business has grown. I tell you, help me to get shareholders, investors who are able to invest in my organization. So the level of services are scaled based on the level of the organization as the organization grows.
Okay.
The other reason, Susan, why you need good governance, for example, even in the boutique that you are mentioning about, you need money to run the business.
Yes.
And among the many sources of money is loan. You can walk to a bank and ask for a loan. Not many banks would give you any loan if you are not well structured as a business. If you don't have the minimum governance requirement, they will ask you for some policies, they will ask you. So one of the things that company secretaries helps you in doing is putting those governance policies and structures. I have interacted, for instance, with a few officials at Equity Bank, and they led money to SMEs and all that. And one of the things they are telling me, some of the challenges in some of, especially the family-owned businesses, they reach a certain level. You see, this business requires a certain amount of capital, but unfortunately they are not able to let them because of the risk associated, because you find in a business where is a sole proprietor, meaning is only one person, or is you and your spouse. And even where it's you and your spouse, especially when it relates to men, you find even though you have put your wife as a shareholder, the wife has no idea of how the business runs. And therefore, if you require say, and this one I'm referring to maybe those businesses which have grown to the next level, you require a loan of 50 million. The bank will be very hesitant to give you because of the risk associated with that. They are not sure that if today you passed on, will that business be there tomorrow? And therefore, will they be able to recover their money? And therefore, it has a direct correlation between good governance and the growth of the business. So for you to get capital, you require good governance, and good governance, and for you to have that good governance, especially if you are not an expert in the same, you will require a professional to help you in having in place the relevant governance policies and structures.
Okay. Yeah. In Kenya, we have every quacks in every sector where you think you're going to a doctor and then you realize you have you're not in the safe hands. Now, when I'm engaging a certified secretary, what am I supposed to look at so that I know that I'm engaging the right person for my business?
Yes, even in our profession, we have quite a number of quacks. And what you need to do is that person who is telling you they are governance professionals, write to the institute, info@ics.ke. Visit our website, www.ics.ke. Actually, you're able to verify on our website. There is a portal there where you're able to verify whether that person is a member of the institute. Or if you write to us, or in our website, you can find our phone numbers, call us. We'll be able to tell you whether that is a qualified person or is a quack.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've mentioned government, and I'm just feeling this is a name we are all hearing, and we are like, when you hear the government, you feel like the government has really pressed us. We want to assume that name doesn't exist. So I'll ask you these questions. Now that we see so much happening in the government, like the corruption that is happening, as much as you have also commented and said that for any economic growth, there is external factors and there are internal factors. Now, back to our government, the policies that are supposed to govern the way things are run, are they so clear, or why do we have so much of corruption deals happening every now and then? Is it that these policies are not as clear, or how can it be approached?
I think we have a serious challenge as a society on what I would call ethics, because sometimes you tend to think, by the way, who is government? Because everybody you ask, they tell you government. Some quarters where I go and people tell me, you people in government. So I then ask, am I government? In other places, so sometimes it's a difficult question, who is government really? And so that and sometimes the reason why we tend to say that is so that when we are passing blame, then we have somebody else there other than myself. Whether it's members of parliament, you hear them talk about government. Whether it's judiciary, whether it's people in cabinet, you hear them talk about government. So then at one point you ask yourself, who is government? So, and government is actually people. Is because whoever we refer to as government, they don't come from mass. Is me and you who are serving in various places. So the issue of corruption is a societal challenge. Sometimes we think maybe so and so who was corrupt, let us remove them and elect so and so. But as soon that person B gets into office, they also become like person A or even worse. So it's a societal challenge that as a society, we have chosen a path of and being unethical, or a thieving culture, if I may call it so. Therefore, this thieving happens right from the family unit. Your child is stealing from you. Your wife or your husband is also having some deals behind your back and all that. Uh, so that what we see there in what we call government is only that those that we call that are in government maybe are on a higher level, and therefore they have a greater opportunity. So that you started stealing the 50 shillings, and you, because the only opportunity you have is to steal 50 shillings, the person who is stealing 100,000, you think they are thieves. But as soon as you get the opportunity, you access the 100,000, you will also steal. So you are just a thief without an opportunity. Should a thief an opportunity present itself, you also steal like them. So it's a challenge that we need to address as a society, and say enough is enough as a society. What do we want as a society in terms of our ethical culture? So yes, I agree that part of the challenges that we have in the Kenyan society and is affecting our businesses is corruption. Because when there is corruption, even the cost of doing business become very high. You have gone, paid your taxes, paid everything. Then you have the county government officers. Like I had visited one business the other day, and they are telling me the county came and they are demanding how much. When they didn't give, their stock was carried away. So you have actually complied with all what I'm telling you, formalize and all that. But yet there is this other person, we call it the black tax, who is demanding. You are in the transport sector. You have all the insurance, everything. Your vehicle is okay, but you are passing on the road, and the police demands that you have to part with a certain amount of money. So it has actually become, as a nation, it has some sectors, and especially for us who are believers, it's like it has become, is almost next to impossible to do business in those sectors, because as a society we have accepted that whenever you pass, you have to put some money hapa chini ya mlango hapo, ili police, siku hizi niona they have invented, you drop it and then hii fibu anabeba iko na some glue, nakuja anaiduga achukua. So we have invented all means of siphoning from our own selves, and therefore the cost of business become very high. And that's why you see some of the businesses in Kenya, some are closing because you are unable to sustain. Because if every day you are running that boutique, and every day some county government officers pass by there, and you have to give them 200 shillings. Kwani how much had you made in a day as profit for you to give 200 shillings? So it becomes very difficult in terms of how do we run our business. So to some extent, or to a greater extent, I agree with you. And unfortunately, I'm not giving a solution what you need to do as a business person, but is a situation that everybody should speak against. Is because if we only looked at it positively as a nation, and so everybody has something they can eat from. If we only allowed this business to flourish, you allowed this mama boga who is selling their cabbage to flourish, and that business grew, that mama boga is able to employ other people and all that. So that's how nations create wealth. And even that policeman who is asking for bribe will not require that bribe, because the businesses have grown so much that he is also able to start his own business and run it ethically. So until we get to that situation as a society, and that's why I also say it also starts with the leadership, because yes, to some extent I want to apportion the blame to every Kenyan that we have a contribution to make, but also to a greater extent the leadership needs to, whichever organization you lead. I'm not necessarily talking about the president, he has his own role, but whoever, whether you are a leader of a church, whether you are a leader of an organization, whether you are the leader in the family, everybody as a leader, you have a responsibility to ensure that we discontinue this culture of unethical practice, because it's killing the society, it's killing. That's why you had a Gen Z revolution, because people get to a situation where they feel frustration. They don't know now what to do, because you've gone to school, you've graduated, and then you are here, there is no job. What happens? And we have a situation in this country, majority of our population are the young people. So now when they finish school, and because of the Kibaki era free education, now those guys who benefited first from free primary education are the ones now graduating in the universities. So we have significantly increased the number of educated young people. So now when you have such great population of informed people, very well educated, but with no jobs, that is a bombshell in waiting. And we need, as a society, to see how do we harness this for the betterment of the society, other than because the challenges, if that is not addressed, that's how societies move to what we have in Haiti, for example, where gangs take control, because you have all these people who are frustrated, they need food to eat, so they have to wait for you. When you get in, point a gun at you, you give them whatever you have. So it's a serious challenge that we need to talk about, and we need to address.
Okay. Wow. So it has nothing to do with the law, the system, the government. It has everything to do with us, the society at large, how we view things, and the choices that we make.
Yes, every time we have such challenges, we try to imagine the problem is the constitution. So we start talking about constitutional amendments. Do we create this law to fight? The issue is nothing to do with laws. It's the person. So if we are able to deal with the person, and that's why sometimes as a Christian, I also feel a bit frustrated, because if it's true that we are 80-90% Christians, this faith we profess, what is its place in changing the person? Because the issue is not the laws or the structures. The issue is the person. So if we're able to address our character, then we will have addressed the challenges we have in this nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned that even churches need to be controlled. They need a certified secretary. What do you think? What do you think a church would need? I thought the pastor just needs to know what to preach on Sunday. If he's not there, he can assign someone to just preach on Sunday, and it will grow, because we'll come and give offerings and things will run. What do you think a church would need?
When you look at churches, what we call mainstream churches, for example, we have the Catholic Church, the ACK, the PCA, and the likes. You have very clear structures. You know, when we offer, where does the offering go, who counts, and all that. And those are processes. Most of these churches are not indigenous. They are not initially from Kenya. We inherited them from elsewhere. Those structures are created out there, and we just actually we are required to adhere. If you call yourself you are a Catholic church, even if you are in Kenya, you don't start innovating how to run the church. There is a whole structure that comes right from Rome on how you are supposed to run it, and because of that, you can see the effects. You can see the impact in terms of how many schools, for instance, the Catholic Church has built in Kenya, hospitals and all that. Now compare that to what we would call our indigenous churches, which I'll give the description of what you have just said. I am the one called. The Lord spoke to me, so I just take the Bible, go preach. And that is good, I agree with that. But a church has two elements. There is a spiritual aspect, which is the issue of calling. you are called and anointed. But then there is also a second part of a church, which is what I'll call organization. Church as an organization. Church as an organization has no difference with Safaricom, with EABL, with any other company, because that church as an organization deals with money, the same money that EABL deals with. That church as an organization has buildings built with stones, the same ones that are built BAT. That church as an organization has all the things that any other organization has. Now, that part of the church as an organization is what we require governance. Because you will require to have policies on how do you recruit employees, for example. If you have employees, how are they paid? Who collects the offering? Once you collect the offering, how is it dealt with? Does it go to the bank account, or do you just, because one of the challenges I have been invited to many churches to talk about governance in churches. As an institute, we have actually been supporting the churches. And fortunately or unfortunately, most of the churches who value it are those already who are engaging in good governance. Most of the other churches, actually, they think you want to come in. And some of those churches, the challenges they have is that you come on Sunday, you give offerings. Once the offering is counted, it is taken to the pastor's office. The pastor anasema kuna mama wa kufagia alikuwa amefagia, nampatia so the money is distributed there, no accountability. Naambia mzee wa kanisa, enda hii ukikunywa chai hii ni yake and all that. But good structures would demand offering is corrected, the entire of it goes to bank. Then we have something we call the petty cash system, whereby you go withdraw the money that you require for that week. You never use money at source. You withdraw the money you require for that week, and then is accounted for. This goes to this. It's very clear how much the pastor is paid. The salary is clear. Now, sometimes when you talk to pastors on this, they think that one of them actually asked me, young man, even before you were born, I started this church and we struggled a lot, my wife and I, to start the church. Now the church has grown. Now when it has reached this stage is when you are telling me to bring the board of elders and all that to tell me how to use the money. And I told him, you see, now if you are looking at a church as a business, then what you are talking about makes sense, because now you are looking at is now my time to reap where I sowed. But if you are looking at this church beyond yourself, that even after you depart, the organization will still progress, then you need to start thinking, yes, we have come to this level. What do we need to put in place so that long after I have left my position as a bishop, as a senior pastor, the church will still progress? And one of the things you need to put in place is the board of elders, or the board of deacons, whatever you may call it, the governing council. Those are the people who are not necessarily dealing with the spiritual issues, which the issue of what to preach on Sunday. God spoke to you as you are praying. But the issues of money, the issues of how to build. Now, it's unfortunate that you find the pastor is the one coming to supervise the construction, and he has zero experience on building. And yet in the same church, you have people, their profession is actually around construction. This person could have helped you deal with the construction issues. So if you put in place proper governance structures, it is also beneficial to you as a pastor, because part of the governance policies we will be telling you is come up with a clear salary structure. This is how much the pastor is paid. Now, once you come up with the salary of the pastor, then create funds to ensure that at any given time, there is money to pay the pastor. And salaries take precedence, meaning they come before anything else, so that even if there is no money, we will even go and borrow to pay salary because it's a compulsory requirement. We also come up with something we call retirement package, that if you have worked in this church for this, even if you retire, you'll be entitled to this amount of money every month. And that will help you even as a pastor. You don't have to keep on worrying, because some of them, the reason why they don't want to retire is because, if I retire, it will be difficult. How do I survive? But if the church came up with a structure to help them even take care of those who have retired, it becomes easy, because this person who have offered their lives, the entire of their lives to this organization, the same way, if I retire where I'm working, the organization already has a policy on how much I'm supposed to be paid every month. It's the same thing that should happen to this pastor. So sometimes church leaders think governance, and that's why they oppose a lot of any regulation, any requirements on anything governance of churches, because they think governance is to come and control the church and all that. No, what we are saying is policies to help proper running of the institution. I also know in that context, I know there have also been other attempts to control churches in various, I'm not referring to that. What I'm referring to is that every church should have a minimum governance threshold that they adhere to. And if that is clearly documented, it doesn't matter who is the leader, because whether you are there or not, the next person come and runs the institution according to the constitution, which is well laid out. But now the challenge is, most of these churches even usually don't have constitutions. It's there because they are required by law to have. So every church has a constitution if it's registered. But even the leaders don't have an idea where it is, because they just signed something and they left it. They don't know where it is, what it says. And part of the constitutional requirement, every constitution of every church, by the way, every constitution, because under the Societies Act, the registrar requires you, as you register a church, you sign into a constitution. Every one of them have some minimum governance requirements. Among them, you are supposed to be having something you call annual general meeting, where you call all your members, discuss issues of financials. This is the amount we collected in the course of the year. This is how we have used them. But how many churches do that? It's usually just a secret of the pastor and maybe a few others. That secrecy does not help the pastor either, because even when he is facing challenges, we are not able to know, because we don't, in the first place, you never involved us when things were running well. But if churches were open, and a number of them are, is only a few who have remained in that secrecy. If they were open, they are also able then to hold the government accountable, because part of the reason why we find it difficult holding government accountable is what Jesus said, before you remove the speck in your brother's eye, first remove the log in your eye. So because ourselves, we are not able to run our own institutions well, then we don't have moral authority to hold the government accountable. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful, guys. Wow, learning a lot. Now I believe we all have ideas on how we could make life better in terms of our businesses, in terms of living, making the right decisions. As we say, the government, the corruption in the government. We start by asking ourselves, what have I participated in that? How much have I stolen before I look at the billions that have been lost? Myself, what have I done to that effect? And also a call to Christians. Oh my, yeah. We say Kenya is 80% dominated by Christians, but from the whole thing, and we are the same Christians who are complaining that there's so much corruption.
Yeah.
So it's like we are really pointing fingers on ourselves, but we are not working, we are not ready to work on it. Wow, I believe we have really been able to enter into the issues that I thought we would be handling today, but still, I know since you're in that sector, probably there's something that you think would be helpful for our viewers to hear that probably we have not covered. Can I allow you to?
Yes, thank you. Susan, I think we have covered most of the things. Only to mention that as you had asked earlier, the issue of a certified secretary, how would they help an organization? I would want to encourage every organization, whether small or big, there is value that a governance professional would add to the organization. Of course, as I mentioned, it depends at the level at which you are at, and therefore the services that you would require from these professionals. Number two is also to mention that there is value in upholding high ethical standards at whatever level, whether it's at family level, whether it's at the church level, whether it's at the business level, or even at the national level. And therefore is a constant call to each and every Kenyan that this country is ours, and we need to think what country will we want to leave to our children 50 years from now. Because if we continue at this level of stealing from whatever sector, whichever organization we are in, then we don't have a country to leave to our children. And that is why you see, for example, we are gradually being dominated, even in terms of business, by other people from outside, because we are unable to run our own institutions. So whichever area that God has given you as your area of influence, sphere of influence, be ethical and run it. The Bible says, the book of Colossians chapter 3, that whatever you do is as unto God. So run that thing as if you are running it for God, because actually it's God who have given you that opportunity to do whatever you are doing. I think those will be my closing remarks in regard to the topic.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bwana CEO, for creating time to be here and also to educate us on how to apply good governance in our businesses and how to be ethical in our dealings. And we really appreciate. And I hope, guys, you have been able to capture something. My takeaway home is that any business, the smallest, because I started with talking of something. I'm not saying that a boutique is a small business, but definitely to start somewhere. I can start my boutique by just having 5 clothes. My takeaway home is that it has the potential to grow as big. My limitation is the kind of tools that I use, and one of the very important tool is engaging the right professionals to help me to grow my business. So do you have any question regarding what we have just discussed today? Just put it down in my comment section. If you think that what you need is more detailed, you don't want to put it in the public, you can still go to my inbox. So let us meet at Facebook, Susie Yule Diadem, TikTok, Susie Yule Diadem, and it's okay for you even to call us, especially if you need even to be here to add more to what we have discussed today, or any other area that you think you would want to discuss to people and they are going to also gain from the knowledge and the skills that you have. So I leave our contact here. Our number is 0112 522-118. So you can reach us, you can call us, and I hope we all grow together. For now, bye.